A well-informed society is essential for a democracy to thrive, but new sources of information are making it more difficult to separate fact from fiction, especially in a world where the publisher of information is nothing more than an algorithm. Journalists have always faced challenges from people in power trying to suppress the truth. Conspiracy theories about UFOs, vaccines, space lasers get a lot more traction in today's technological society.
I think it's harder for us to break into that and say, no, this is the real news.
Spectacular conspiracy theories or political falsehoods often draw more attention than serious subjects.
You may suspect it's not true that Haitians are eating cats in Springfield, Ohio, but it's kind of sexier than talking about an increase in the federal debt limit.
The algorithms amplify the sensational because the social media moguls value clicks over truth.
You think he's got something?
I want to keep digging. We need to focus on the institution. Show me that.
The movie Spotlight shows how the Boston Globe exposes the child abuse scandal in the Catholic Church.
An independent group of people who are keeping a close eye on what's going on in government is really vital for the functioning of a free and open society.
And its survival depends on you.
I was always the kid asking why.
Rachel Hinton is a reporter for Block Club Chicago.
I have a real curiosity about the world around me, and this job lets me explore that and try to explain it to others.
Her investigative work has exposed wrongdoing in Chicago housing.
I do think that our stories were a drumbeat of like, hey, people are still unhappy. People are still dealing with rats and mold and poor living conditions. Like, what are you guys doing?
Exposing wrongdoing, holding people in power accountable, whether it's Wall Street, the church, the military, or politicians of, yes, both parties.
I think most people don't understand that the day-to-day reporters are not being told by the opinion people how to report a story or how to slant it or how to frame it. We're all just trying to get the facts. I think what I really realized is that everybody has an interesting story.
John Marshall is a professor at Northwestern University and has written a number of books on the history of journalism.
The founders of the United States recognized that it was vitally important to have people making the leaders of our country accountable.
The first newspaper in the New World is published nearly a century before the American Revolution. Benjamin Harris publishes Public Occurrences in 1690, vowing to print the truth. The British power base is not happy.
Colonial government got very upset and they shut down his newspaper. So after only one issue, it was finished. Many of these early printers started to side in favor of challenging that colonial government, and it really added fuel to the American Revolution.
During wartime, even the American government tries to suppress the truth from getting out.
Definitely happened during the Civil War with Abraham Lincoln. He allowed his generals and his cabinet members to shut down newspapers, had a few editors arrested.
Over time, the press wins more protection from the courts. The Vietnam War. For the first time, people see the horrors of the battlefield while sitting in their living rooms.
But we will not surrender. And we will not retreat.
President Johnson claims the U.S. is winning.
When they interviewed the U.S. soldiers and they saw what was going on in the villages, they saw that President Johnson and the Pentagon were not telling them the truth, and it created what was known as the credibility gap, that you really couldn't trust what the government was saying.
And piece by piece, they solve the greatest detective story in American history.
There is no way the White House can control the investigation.
Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman portray Washington Post reporters Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein, whose stories on Watergate, the crime and cover-up, lead to President Nixon's resignation. The Post's motto is, "Democracy dies in darkness."
Well, I think journalism is absolutely critical to a working democracy. The first thing that most dictators do is shut down the independent TV stations, independent radio stations, the independent newspapers, and now they'll shut down the internet and try to make sure that critical coverage doesn't happen.
And somewhere in here is photo, one long-haired Sun-Times reporter covering Jane Byrne.
Wow, I wouldn't have recognized you. Jim Warren was a reporter covering pretty much every beat over the decades, but especially politics. What made you want to be a journalist?
I just love the idea of the freedom and finding out the answers to stuff that I didn't know anything about.
He has also been a media analyst and has seen how technology has changed the landscape.
You cannot overstate how much vile demagoguery about migrants constantly appears on Fox News.
Because MSNBC doesn't respect their audience. They're not putting on a show to inform their viewers. It's a brainwashing op.
Partisan outlets emerge on cable and attack each other on air. Some people vilify traditional news outlets. But the overriding problem now is social media spreading a pandemic of falsehoods.
To be on platforms where there is absolutely no obedience to fact-checking, I think is a tremendous threat.
Jim Warren now works for NewsGuard, which rates the credibility of news sources.
We decided that two-legged citizens, journalists, would be the ones who would actually do the fact-checking and give folks a sense of whether or not individual websites, individual podcasts, individual TV news shows were generally speaking credible.
American advertisers have become a good customer of NewsGuard.
Why would major American ad agencies be interested in us? Because we embarrassed not only them, but some of their very, very famous clients by pointing out that ads, as a result of algorithms, were winding up on anti-gay sites, pro-Putin sites, racist sites, and both the ad agency and very, very famous brand name advertisers were going, how did that happen?
For the rest of us, the best hope may be media literacy.
The average student today has no clue about whether to differentiate or how to differentiate between the front page of the New York Times and some crazy TikTok video.
Big tobacco is a big story, and you got something important to say, I can tell.
The Insider portrays how 60 Minutes exposes wrongdoing by Big Tobacco. For journalism to keep holding power accountable, it may need changes in law to hold the digital world accountable.
There's a trend toward not even doing basic fact-checking, and that is, I think, a huge, huge threat to the smart news consumer, to future news consumers, and to democracy itself.
But legacy journalism needs financial support to compete with free content that is more readily available on your phone. Rachel Hinton's Block Club Chicago is part of the growing trend of nonprofit journalism outlets.
My hope is that nonprofit journalism continues and that it continues to grow. I think that it's an important and necessary part of the journalism industry.
But it's really, I think, up to the public if they want solid information from people who are really trying to dig for the truth. They may actually have to pay for it rather than depend on their sister-in-law's social media feed.
In the 2005 movie Good Night and Good Luck, David Strathairn portrays journalist Edward R. Murrow. Murrow gives a speech about the importance of journalism.
Our history will be what we make it. If we go on as we are, then history will take its revenge and retribution will not limp in catching up with us. Just once in a while, let us exalt the importance of ideas and information. Good night, and good luck.
In 2021, Illinois became the first state to pass a law calling for media literacy programs in school, but it is not implemented consistently between wealthier and lower income districts. 19 other states are also pursuing some kind of framework to help their students understand the broader effects of media and technology.